Hey everybody, it's Bo Beery. I'm a multifamily broker in the Florida markets, and today we got a really good one. So I've got a lot of customers been calling me ever since doing some of these videos and saying, Bo, where's the next market to buy in, right? So I'm gonna do a video today that has basically two parts to it. Number one, I'm gonna be talking to you about the markets that I think are next you can buy in the Florida markets I cover. However, I know many of you are from all over the world, and so I also want to tell you how I source this information and the importance of it so that you can do this same thing in your markets to understand where to buy next, okay? So let me show you this chart real quick first. And here's the chart. Now, the basis of what we do is we track every single closing in every market we do. That's the whole thing, right? You have to be able to do that. Now, obviously, most brokers do that. I think all investors should do it as well, or have relationships with brokers who can do it for them. But we self-source all of our information. We don't go to just a couple websites because those are oftentimes entered by people who are not real estate people. So they don't know all the different metrics and calibrations like we do. So I self-source primarily from each property appraiser website in each municipality, because they track every single closing because they have to be able to tax them. Now, sometimes they're behind anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 weeks, but as brokers, we're tracking all these closings as they come for sale anyway. We know when they're going to close. We also then follow up with sellers and buyers and brokers to make sure the metrics are good. And sometimes we'll cross-reference them with websites like Reese or CoStar or something like that. So a lot of work goes into this. I'm not going to lie. We've got several staff members that this is what we do on a regular basis every single day. We're tracking this stuff. But if you're in this game to win it, you've got to do that as well, okay? So that's how I do it. You should be able to do that in your same markets. And then once you have the base spreadsheet, which is every closing that you track, you can create tons of reports just like this that'll get you to know the markets like the back of your hand. And the more you know the markets, the faster you can react to opportunities that come available. Okay, so let me go to the spreadsheet. This is the percentage of inventory that have sold for the last 5 years. Now, the reason I track 5 years is because anything that has sold within 5 years is less likely that you're going to be able to buy it, add a bunch of value to it, and boost the values. Now, I've certainly sold a number of deals that have sold in the last 3 years, and I sold them this year, or have sold in the last 2 years, and I sold them last month, or last 4 years, whatever it is. Those happen, okay? But as a percentage, they're definitely smaller than ones that have not sold in more than 5 years. So if it hasn't sold in the last 5 years, you have a great opportunity of being able to buy, add value, and all that stuff. You get what I'm saying. So then here's how I track it. I track over 100 units, and then I track under 100 units, and then I track them by market rate, or conventional, as we call them, student housing, affordable, and then this basically sums up all of it, or it kind of takes the full metrics, and this column adds all these columns together. This just tells you the total number of sales for all 5 years in each market, okay? So I'm not going to go through all of these, but let me just do some examples. So Gainesville, what this is saying is that 29% of the market rate complexes over 100 units have sold in the last 5 years, which is pretty good. I mean, by pretty good, I mean this might be a target to try to buy in, because as you can see the other percentages, Jacksonville's almost double that, which is amazing because there's a significantly larger number of complexes and population there than Gainesville, and still almost double the number of sales. Lake City's a very, very small market, 50%. 85% of the deals over 100 units have traded in Ocala. 73% in Tallahassee, that's quite a bit. And almost half in Orlando. Orlando's a giant market, definitely the biggest market that I cover. As a matter of fact, Orlando's as big as all of these markets combined in regards to the number of complexes. Now, this is the number of deals that haven't sold in the last 5 years. So these are your targets. This is what you're after. So even though Gainesville and let's call it Polk County and Volusia County had the smallest percentage of inventory that is sold, which looks good to you, you still have to look at the number of deals that are actually available, because that's important. So there's only 50 complexes left in Gainesville, only 39 here, and only 16 in Tallahassee, 40 in Volusia County. So you really have to look at what's available. And you have to understand, so the lowest one is Gainesville, but there's only 50 complexes available. How many thousands and thousands of investors from all over the world after those same 50, right? So Jacksonville and Orlando are pretty good targets, but they're also very, very competitive. The rest of the world knows that Jacksonville and Orlando are good targets, so you'll still have competition even though there's a lot more inventory. You can see on the student side, about a quarter of the student housing is traded and about half in Tallahassee. So there's few opportunities here, but not much is traded. Orlando has a decent sized student housing market. I won't go through all these, you can look at this later. On the under 100 unit side, everyone's roughly the same, except Orlando hasn't had many trades under 100 units. I think that's a great spot to go if you'll go that small. I have a couple broker friends in those markets and they clean house under 100 units. 230 opportunities there, 122 in Gainesville, and frankly, the rest of these, that's a pretty good number of complexes in Gainesville and Tallahassee under 100 units. I think those are good markets to buy in. Student side, Gainesville has a great target market to go after. 58 complexes left for student housing under 100 units. Now remember, it's about a 3-bedroom ratio to unit. So, you know, a deal that has 50 units might have 150 bedrooms. And if you're buying something that's walking distance to UF, those are trading anywhere from $80,000 to $120,000 a bedroom, right? So it's still pretty big numbers. Okay, what are some other ones? Oh, here's one anomaly. In Gainesville, and this doesn't really exist in other markets as huge as it is in Gainesville, there is one player who owns a tremendous amount of conventional and student housing in that market, and they never, ever, ever sell. So it skews the numbers. For instance, this one group owns 23 complexes across conventional and student, 23 complexes over 100 units, and 10 complexes under 100 units. So for instance, if there's 82 deals over 100 units between conventional and student, they own 23, so you really got like 50 complexes total that you could actually buy, right? Now, there's another 11 complexes that are conventional only, over 100 units, owned by 5 other groups that never, ever, ever sell, right? So this number just keeps getting less and less and less. Now, there are folks in these other markets as well that do own a pretty decent size inventory, but certainly nothing that dominant. And so what this chart doesn't cover is, it doesn't cover the number of complexes that have already refinanced in the last year or two. Now, obviously, they've refinanced, defeasance will be very high, and they probably can't sell. Now, I have the ability in my spreadsheet to be able to do that as well. I just didn't dive that deep. It starts getting more complicated. In addition, this doesn't cover, of course, all the players who own assets who never, ever sell. Now, I know who those folks are. The brokers you transact with know who those folks are. And as long as they're tracking every sale and thus can produce spreadsheets like this, they can, if you need them to, further narrow down to what are the complexes that haven't sold in X number of years, hasn't refinanced in X number of years, isn't owned by people who never ever sell. And so you can really get down to a target market as you're buying. By the way, these spreadsheets work marvelously as well for selling. So for my sellers, if I get a complex in Gainesville that's market rate over 100 units, I'm able to tell him, hey, there's only 30 or 40 complexes that everybody in the world could buy. You've got a hot commodity. This is worth something. And I can do that in Ocala and Tallahassee and all these other markets that I cover. And I can do that because I track them. If you track every sale, you can create these reports that put things in your minds that you just know about, right? And so I highly encourage that. Okay, I think I covered it all. Let me make sure. Yes. I got it all. Okay, if there's any other reports that you want me to run, I love doing this kind of stuff. I love doing all these nerd spreadsheets. It's what I do. Please drop a comment down in the comment section. Please like the video. Please share the videos with others in your market so that they can learn how to do this stuff as well. And of course, subscribe and hit the bell. I produce about 1 video a week. And then of course, I do new listing property tours that I post on here as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.